Hi, I'm Heather from Hale Booktubes, and I read 31 books in June. I DNF'd 9 and finished 22, which are the books that I will be talking about today. Going in chronological order, I started with What If by Dani Wyatt. I gave this book 2 stars. It ended up being pretty mediocre. The synopsis sounded fun because this girl's gone on like 28 blind dates and she starts a bar fight on her last one and gets rescued. It wasn't good. There was mediocre writing. There were plot holes that really annoyed me. It was a novella, Instalove. And so if you're going to have an Instalove novella and it's not good, then, it's not good. Next, I read His by Aubrey Dark. This one I gave 4 stars. This is a serial killer romance, and so this girl basically, she plays Nancy Drew and she ends up getting caught by the serial killer, and he doesn't want to kill her. She like soothes the darkness inside of him, whatever. So he tries to use sex to keep her so that he doesn't have to kill her. And I was uncomfortable for this entire book, and I still read it and loved it. So if that's not good writing, I do not know what is. But yeah, they fall in love. And also, he only kills like one person. So if you really want a serial killer killing lots of people in the book, this is not it. But he does pretty graphically kill somebody. So there's also that. Next, I read Mark by Jessica Gadziala. This is number 3 in the Malik Brothers, which is her Loan Shark series in Navasink Bank. And I gave this one 4 stars. It was sweet and cute. There was a lot of sadness about one of the other brothers. So I already knew all of that from other series, but it still was sad. So basically, Scotty is a criminal and Mark is a loan shark, and he kind of is at the scene of her crime, figures out who she is. Of course, he's not going to turn her in or anything, but she has a lot of trust issues, and also she and her brothers are following a plan that they set in motion over 10 years ago. And that's kind of the main thing stopping them from being with each other. And Mark's a ladies' man. She's never been in a real relationship because they never stay in one place. And that's them falling in love, but there was a lot of emotions, mainly because of family members. Next, I read Ringmaster by Brianna, Hale. I gave this 4 stars. There was not a lot of smut. I was very surprised. It was a surprisingly respectful age gap because when they meet, she is underage. She is 17. Close to turning 18, but she's 17. But he doesn't do anything for like well over a year. He doesn't groom her at all. He's very respectful, and it was a pleasant surprise. A lot of times you read these ones that they're like, I need to not do this, I need to be there for her as like a mentor, and it's like half an hour later in their time frame, not even in the book, that they're giving in. That was not this guy at all. He actually was really decent, and I ended up enjoying it. There is something that happens, and their like mutual friend at the end of the book is outraged by it, and I was like, yes, exactly, thank you. And so I liked that part a lot because it was like, yeah, that's not okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for calling him out on that. Doesn't really change any of the things that happened, but it was nice to have a book where it was like, dude, that's messed up. Next, I read Dax by Kate Hunt. I gave this 3 stars. This was very meh. It was an Instalove smutty novella. It was dad's best friend next door, curvy heroine, and that's it. That's the whole thing. Next was Don't You See, a Mafia Instalove romance by M.K. Moore. Mafia Instalove is part of the title. I gave this 3 stars. It was not great writing. It was insta everything, but it was a super quick read. Like I think maybe under 50 pages. So if the writing had been a little bit better, it would have been perfect. Next, my first 5-star of the month was Baby in the Late Night Howlers by Kathryn Moon. This was so good. It's Megaverse reverse harem, paranormal, shifter, motorcycle club. It's all the things. It was incredibly good. You had support of other women, which is always so nice. you had consent tackled and a really interesting plot, fun relationships. I really enjoyed it. And there is a male-male relationship in the reverse harem. And I thought the whole thing was sweet. I thought it was really sweet. Really, really sweet. And there's also guys in the motorcycle club that are just in a platonic relationship with Baby, our main character. And also you have her not making the decisions for everybody, but also not being walked all over. And I just really, really enjoyed it. If you've never read an Omegaverse, it's a sweet one. It doesn't do a fantastic job of explaining what the Omegaverse is, but it was really sweet. After that, not chronologically, I did read 3 books in the Librarys Coven by Kathryn Moon. Also, Written, Warriors, and Scrivens, I gave all 3 4 stars, and there is a coven of witches. 3 are men and 1 is our main character, although you do get dual points of view, and kind of each book you get one of the guys' points of view a little more heavily. But this is not just a reverse harem. The 4 of them are in a relationship. It's about this sweet little librarian who doesn't think that she has any magic. She is kind of mousy and very modest. However, she doesn't change throughout the books, which I thought was interesting. She does wear some nicer clothes that they pick out for her, but still in her style. Each one of them has their own unique magic and personality, and I really like the series. They've all been 4 stars, so I really, really liked them, but they weren't super fantastic. But I read 4 of Kathryn Moon's books in a month when I've never read anything by her before, so that's a good indication that I liked her. Next, I read Dirty Talk by Lana Cohen. This was 2 stars. It's a CEO novella, and I can't remember a thing from this book. Even looking at the cover, I can't even remember having read this. So, like, I have no recollection whatsoever, so not good. Next, I read Can I Come Over by Whitney G. I gave this 4 stars. This was really cute. So they're like pen pals through a app, but it's a leather writing app. And our main character is an erotica romance author, and she is failing to write a sex scene, and she's missing her deadline, and she's just not doing good at all. So she asked her very platonic relationship with this guy. She asked him for help, and the platonic goes out the window. Turns out he's her dad's best friend. There's no grooming. First of all, she's a full-on adult. She's like 25 by the time that this book takes place, and all he ever did was like pick her up from the airport when she would visit her dad, and he was completely respectful. And that is kind of the dad's reaction when he finds out. He's like, how could I not protect you? And she's like, no, nothing happened. Like, nothing has happened before this point ever in any way. The only reason why anything happened at all was because we fell in love with each other over these leathers in this app and not knowing who each other were. Otherwise, he would have never gone there. So that was just a great twist on the dad's best friend romance. I thought it was really respectful and cute and funny, and I loved it. Next, I read Hooking Him, which I gave 5 stars. It is number 3 in the To Catch an Alpha series by Aurora Rose Reynolds. And this is just a fun, sweet series. There's always like a little thread of dramatic plot, but it's such a small part of the book. Like, that's not what you're reading the book for. You're reading the book for the happy couple. It's feel good, and you have really protective alphas. You have girls just finding happiness, finding that person that is theirs and the one that was meant for them, and I love it. It's so sweet. This one in particular was a sheriff and a socialite who had run away from her life, had decided that she didn't want to get married for money. She didn't want to keep living her life just to make her parents happy, and ran away to a small town. They are older main characters. They're in their younger 30s, but I always appreciate reading somebody over the age of 25. Next, I read Love Unsolicited by Alexandria Warren. I gave this book 4 stars. The very beginning, their back and forth was kind of jarring for me. I wasn't really sure what was happening because they were just like, go. Well, if you want to stay, stay. And I was just like, what are we doing? I loved it. So she solicits him and then goes back to her regular life after a great one-night stand, meets him in her regular life. and he offers to pay her. He doesn't want a relationship. The thing I really liked about this book was that she did not need the money. Honestly, she was just doing it for thrills, and she didn't usually do that anymore, and it was kind of just she needed something. So she had gone out that night, and even though he's a billionaire businessman, I really liked that the power imbalance really wasn't there. She didn't work for him. She wasn't an employee. She wasn't poor. She didn't need the money. She just liked him and she wanted him, but she didn't need him. And I really liked that. And their chemistry and banter was really fun, really hot. I thoroughly enjoyed. Highly recommend. Next, I read Ive Been, which is the first in her Russian Protector series by Roxie Rivera. This book was free. It's Instalove. It's a Russian mafia guy literally protecting this girl. You have an alpha male. I enjoyed the heroine. Her sister is a drug addict, and that is the driving force behind most of the plot and conflict in the book. And I've heard that the series actually gets better from here. Next, I read the whole Them Boys series by Alexandria House. This is a series, a trilogy, if you will, of novellas about three brothers. The first is Set, the second is Jaw, and the third is Shu. I gave the first one 3 stars, second one 4 stars, and the last one 5 stars. These are great big men who were abused by their father, not sexually, just physically, as children, and they're all in their 40s, and I really enjoyed reading about older main characters. I enjoyed their relationships with the girls. They were so protective and so sweet and so caring while being just like these huge guys that could beat anybody to a pulp, and I loved it. I loved it. The last one is definitely the most intense, and there's a lot of emotions tackled in all of the books, but they are sweet, smutty, great novellas. I really enjoyed them, and I will for sure be reading more by this author. The only reason why I haven't yet is because they're like full-length books, and I was like, I want more novellas, but I'm reading one really, really soon. Next, I read Fell for a Billionaire Vampire by Nadia Ray. I don't know how you pronounce her name. I gave this 3 stars. I felt that the writing was really choppy, needed editing. The story had a lot of potential. Zion is completely broke, but she wants nothing to do with vampires. She gets talked into going to a bar by one of her friends. Knight is a master vampire and he needs a witch. Turns out Zion's a witch and didn't know it. You get a few different people's points of view in the book. Is a novella, and I don't know, I really just thought it was okay. I thought that the writing was the main issue. Next, I read Suck, which is the first in the Suck Bang Blow novella series by Nikki Belaire. I gave this 5 stars. There's an Instalove Mafia romance, and the title and cover sucked me in. An alpha mob boss steals the bride from the wedding, which is like one of my favorite tropes of all time. I'm such a sucker for this trope. It's not even funny. It's short and sweet, there's plenty of ridiculousness, and he treats her like a queen. Next, I read The Woman at the Docks by Jessica Gadziala. I gave this 5 stars. This is a mafia romance. In fact, it's Jessica's first mafia romance, even though we've gotten a glimpse of the mafia in her other series. So I was so excited about it, really anticipating it, and it fully lived up to what I wanted. So this girl finds out that her sister has been abducted by human traffickers, and she knows that they're going to be sending them through a shipping container from Venezuela to this port. This particular set of docks is run by the mob, and she knows, just like everybody else, you don't cross the mob, but she has no choice because she needs to get her sister. And she gets caught, and it's their romance, and there's a lot of twists and turns. And there's a lot of twists and turns. It was excellently done. Highly recommend it if you want a mafia romance. Also, one big perk is the family in this mafia. They actually treat each other really well. So often you see the mafia boss just being the worst, and the dad was still alive, he was still in charge, and he was actually decent to his sons, which I really appreciated. My very last book for June was By a Thread by Lucy Score. I gave this 5 stars. It was so good. There are so many things in this book that I normally hate, and it was so good. So good. It was funny, it was clever, it was emotional, it was all the things. Highly, highly, highly recommend. So this book is about a grumpy boss. She stands up to him. It has kind of a Devil Wears Prada vibe. There's lots of things tackled here. One big thing is there's a big dementia storyline for her father. My grandparents lived with us for many years because my grandmother had Alzheimer's, so I do tend to avoid this storyline, but I didn't know it was in it. It was done super well, super respectfully. I loved this book. I love this book, even though the hero was an idiot and they ended up breaking up like 90% through the book before they get together, obviously, which I despise. I loved it. Even when I went to shake them because their pride was getting in the way of them being happy, I loved it. So lots of things I normally cannot stand, and it was so, so, so good. So good. So good. You should read it for sure. 100%. That's it. That's all the books I read in June. It was a really low month for me. Obviously, there was a lot of things going on in June with Black Lives Matter, coronavirus, all the things. So I'm not upset about how many books I read, but it was a low one for me, which is fine. Let me know your favorite book that you read in June and if you have any new favorite authors. And yeah, stick around if you want romance recommendations. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.